So on August 6th, you wrote a piece for our newsletter, Election Insights, title of which was "The Federal Agriculture Agenda is Driving Growth." And so the piece was largely around a reflection, if you will, around some of the Liberal Party accomplishments during your time as government. The nature of the conversation has since shifted. We find ourselves now 2 months later in the middle of an election campaign, and we're talking more about what we as voters and our farmer members can expect should the Liberal Party have an opportunity to form government again. And so with that, I thought I would talk a little bit about some of our members' greatest priorities, starting with, as you can well imagine, international trade.
Right.
And so in September of this year, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau appointed economic advisor Dominic Barton to serve as Canada's ambassador to China during what is a very critical time between the two countries. China, as you know, is a key market for Canadian farmers. And so this move was broadly supported by Canada's agriculture sector, but it was seen as the first step, if you will, in normalizing relationships and relations between Canada and China. What has to happen in your view if Canada wants to reset the relationship with China?
Well, it is a big and complicated relationship, and one that has grown more complicated over the last several years. It's no great comfort, but Canada is certainly not alone in facing certain challenges in relation to China. There is a huge trade war going on between the United States and China, some of which is reverberating back to other countries like our own. So the challenges around the world in terms of the relationship with China are very real and very large. Some of it's economic, some of it is national security and other issues. From Canada's point of view, the issue is not just livelihoods affected by trade disruptions, but also lives, because there are 2 Canadians in custody, in jeopardy in China, and that also colors the relationship and is a very distinct overlay that we always need to be aware of and sensitive to. The appointment of Ambassador Barton was a very good step in the right direction. As you say, it's the first step. It's not by any means the solution or the total solution, but it is a very positive step. The selection of Ambassador Barton was well received in Canada and well received in China. In fact, as you know, in the diplomatic process, the naming of an ambassador must be accepted by the country to whom the ambassador is assigned, and China has accepted and officially received Mr. Barton. That is a good indication of some of the standoff that was there earlier is perhaps beginning to moderate. Now that the ambassador is in place, I think a number of steps can be taken. We should be looking, I think, at sectoral teams from Canada, people who have an established relationship with customers or others in China, being able to be in contact with their contacts. That may be in the mining industry or in the financial services industry. It could be in any sector where there's an established relationship. I would hope that all Canadians would want to be in touch with their Chinese contacts and counterparts to work at repairing the lines of communication and to get the situation heading toward a more normal situation. It is interesting that while certain commodities like canola, obviously, have been terribly disrupted, other agricultural commodities and other types of products have continued to move apparently without difficulty. So there are channels that we need to work and encourage to be part of the overall solution. This is going to take toughness and persistence and a lot of diplomacy. While that is going on, and I don't pretend it can happen instantly. It's going to take time. We need to do several other things. Diversifying our trading options is one of those things. That's not easy. You can't do that by a flip of a switch either. But Jim Carr has been specifically named Minister of Trade Diversification for a very important reason, to identify other markets, develop those other markets, go after those other markets. While that's happening as well, we need to make sure that the income support mechanisms, the trade disruption compensation mechanisms that can keep Canadians whole during this period of time are fully functioning. In that regard, the business risk management tools that you and I have discussed on other occasions, they are clearly in need of renovation and improvement and strengthening. And that work must go forward. I'm glad that the federal provincial ministers have agreed, at least in principle, to carry on that conversation. They need to get on with it. And all levels of government are going to have to be prepared to make those programs stronger so that they are meaningful to farmers when this kind of a situation occurs, and not at the last minute. There's a long lead up that goes into getting those programs in better shape. I think we also need to, and we've started this, rally other countries around the world who are experiencing some sort of the same difficulty, to work with each other, to say with a united voice that some of the tactics and strategies and approaches that have been pursued by China are counterproductive and do not enhance the international relationship anywhere in the world. As I said, this is big and complicated, but we have to move on all of those fronts and undoubtedly others to try to get the situation back to something that is closer to normal.